All right, this is the new lighthouse. The way it works is the first thing that we're doing is we're building the metal frame. Then we're going to put the canvas on the outside of it. Then we'll go from there. To put up the metal frame, it's very simple. Just take and lay all the parts out. They're all alphabetical. The letter C are these poles that basically connect between each vertical support. Then we have B on the bottom and A on the top. So these two go together, and we've got 4 instances of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have D on the top and E on the bottom. We've got 2 instances on that, the front and the back. And then up above you can see we actually have G, which goes this way, and then F, which goes the other way. And the way that works is when we go to actually hang our lights and all the equipment that has weight on it, we put them on the bar that goes on top of the other bar. That's important to note. You don't want to be hanging on this one because you actually have less support. Okay, the next step is to take your canvas and you want to undo all the zippers on it. Then when you do that, you have to find the bottom. Now here you can see that what we did is we took the bottom and we slid it underneath the metal frame. So basically we held this down, we slid the metal frame onto it, and we have the front part put in. Then what we did is we went around and we slid the frame in for the sides. Now the next thing we're going to have to do is take all that material and go underneath the back of the frame, and then we're going to start to bring it around the top. Okay, now at this point what we've done is we've taken all that material, we put it underneath the bar, and we pulled it up and around over the top. Now you can see the first thing we did is we made sure that this corner was in nice and tight when we lifted it up, and then we ran the material up to the other front corner, pulled it down, ran it across, did the same thing on this side. Now that we have the top and the bottom portion all filled out, the next step is going to be to zipper it up and get it enclosed. Now what we're going to do is zipper it around the top, which we just talked about. Now you have to be very careful around these metal corners. It helps if you kind of pull the material out with your arm and then start to zipper it shut. So you can see as he's zippering it, it's basically starting to close up the system. Now the only thing we have left is the bottom zippers, and we're almost ready to go. Okay, now that we've put in the outside, we've assembled the outside, the next thing we're going to look at is the inside liner, which isn't even mentioned in the directions, but you can see that there's actually little Velcro pads here, and the Velcro is right onto the pole to hold it in place, and it goes into all 4 corners. So you can see here we've actually Velcroed it in, and that should prevent any water leakage from happening outside the cabinet. Now on this unit there's also, try to get it in the light, you can see there's Velcro on the doors and on the top to hold down the flaps. The Velcro on the doors, there's one on either side, so it holds them closed when all said and done. There's also these little clips up top, and those clips, there's a Velcro strap that comes with it, and in this case what we did is we just used it to hold it on the inside, to actually hold the door open. However, I'm sure you could wrap it on the outside or whatever works for your application. So that's pretty much it as far as the lighthouse assembly. Thank you for watching. Okay, the next step is to take your light yo-yos and tie the yo-yo first to the little eye screw coming off of your reflector, and then later we'll hang it on the actual light track. When it comes to assembling your reflector, there is a little light wing portion that attaches to the outside of it. All you need to do is take the little screw and nut that come with it and put it through the metal frame first, and then after that put it through this part of the reflector and then the nut on the back, just like you can see over here. Okay, now we have our light wing reflector assembled. At this point we're just going to take it and snap it right on top of our cool tube. You don't have to tighten these nuts with a screwdriver, you can do it with a friction fit. But you can see here on the glass tube where the reflector part actually ends. There we go. Now those little wings will help deflect light down and also help us stay cool. Now you can see at this point what we're doing is on either side of the unit we actually have a ducting system, and we're taking the light yo-yos and we're hanging them from the S-hook, or the little S-hooks, from the bar that we centered in the middle of the unit, and then we're hanging our reflector down from that. Now on the reflector we're going to have ducting that's going to go to either end of the flanges on either end of the unit, and we're going to have duct fans that are going to be in between that are going to allow airflow through the circuit. Now what you need to do is make sure that when you have this bar here that it's put in the center of the unit, and these S-hooks actually slide on, they will not come off. We have special S-hooks that do not come off when they're on the unit unless you bring them down to the end. So when you go to slide them on, you have to slide them on near the point where the bar is crimped on the end, and then they won't come off. That'll prevent issues down the road. Again, then you put on your S-hooks. You adjust the light yo-yo with the little tension wrench here, and then those go down to your reflector, and they allow you to raise and lower it with the right amount of tension. That's something you just have to play with by adjusting the wing nut. With these light yo-yo pulleys, you can actually adjust the lights with the flexible ducting and bring them right down above your plants because they're cool to the touch. On these yo-yo pulleys, we also put some chains so that way the lights can get very close right down to your plants to get the most out of your light as you're growing and going. Once they get to acceptable height, you can take the chain right out and move the yo-yo pulley and hang it right up on the top. You can see the 3 400 watt ballasts we have in the back. Those are 400 watt ballasts, but they have a special dimmable switch that allows these lights to be run at 250 watts apiece. So we can either go 250, 500, 750 watts in total when you're starting out, and then dial it up to 400, 800, 1200 watts. And then there's also a feature for super high output if you really want to maximize everything. Now we have a cooling fan down in the right corner and a cooling fan up in the left-hand corner besides the ones for the light. There's also an ozone generator in the back, and we also have an optional carbon filter that comes with the unit. But this unit here will do, again, about 35 plants, and from each plant you can expect to get anywhere between 3 and 9 ounces of usable plant matter, depending on which varieties of plant you're working with and what you're doing in the way of your cycle times. And yeah, this is a whole new unit we'll be selling on eBay. And if you have any more questions, visit us at sunlightsheds.com. Okay, on your ballast and all your electronics, you're basically going to hang the ballast from the top, either with a zip tie or whatever you want. Don't hang it by the cord because you don't want any weight stressing. But on your actual ballast here, you're going to have your cord that's going to extend out. And the way that this cord actually connects in that socket is there's 2 little Phillips head screws inside the socket before the bulb screws in. And there's 2 wires, a black and a white wire, that go into either end of the socket, and you just screw it down with a Phillips head screwdriver to hold into place. It doesn't matter if you mix the black and white wires, it doesn't matter which orientation they are, one on the left and one on the right. It doesn't matter. As far as the green ground, if you want, you can attach it to the metal bar in the back. You don't even really need it, actually. When you first start your grow, you're going to start with the metal halide bulb that looks like this one here with a little white portion in the middle. And then when you switch to flowering, you're going to go to the HPS bulb. Again, we have videos that go through the whole growing portion of it. This is just mainly for the setup of these grow tent systems. Now you can see up here in the corner, we have one of the duct fans that comes with your system. And the way it works is you take this duct fan, doesn't matter if it's facing up, in this case it should be facing up and outward to blow excess heat out of the top of the unit. These here are little cinch drawstrings that you take and you just pull tight to hold the fan in place, and then here's a secondary drawstring that you can pull tight just to make sure it's nice and secure, and you basically just plug everything in. Now on the mortgage lifter, you also are going to have a fan that you're going to be putting in the bottom right hand side that you're going to have the airflow facing down and in. That's going to blow air in across the unit, and then it'll eventually be sucked up with a fan like this up and out. Now as far as the fan that goes inside the circuit for your light, you can see, we'll see if we can flip it here, but on these fans it actually has an airflow direction. It does not matter which direction that arrow is facing. As long as it's going through the circuit, it doesn't matter if it's facing right or left. The only thing you want to be careful of is on units like the mini mortgage lifter where you have multiple fans on the circuit, where you're actually going to have 2 going across 3 lighting systems. And we'll take a quick walk over to show you just so you have a better idea. In a system like this, you want to make sure that those arrows are both facing in the same direction. Because if they're facing in the opposite direction, the air is going to be fighting itself and it's not going to be blowing through the circuit in one direction or the other. Now, as far as your air pump, you always want it on the highest setting possible. You can see it has low to high. High is all the way this way. You basically can hang this from the top of the unit. You can set it in any manner you want, but if you don't want this air pump below the level of your water line, and the reason being, if there was ever an issue where you lost power, water could go back up your tubes and into your air pump, which is not something we want to occur. Again, you can see here, we actually took the air tubes and we have air stones attached to them like I talked about earlier, and they're basically just dropped right in the tube. Now if for some reason you don't want to use the holes on the end here, or you don't have them, you can always run this same black tube right through the top of your nut pots and down in the end, again for one of each on this circuit that we're sitting here and doing a quick setup and check with. Okay, now what we're going to talk about here is how to glue that center piece to your two 90-degree elbows you're going to have on either side. Now we've already used cleaner and we've cleaned off the PVC with this special compound. It's a clear PVC cleaner that ensures you have good adhesion. So that's already, this surface has already been covered in cleaner. The inside of each of these elbows has been covered in cleaner. We actually ship you, when you get your shipment, you'll get in this small bottle of PVC cement, 4 ounces, which is way more than you even need for what you're doing. You only need about an ounce. We're going to use the big jug here because that's what we use in-house. We also have this under a fume hood so that there's no odor from the vapors. If you want to do it in a well-ventilated area or put on a respirator mask, that's fine. Since you're only doing 7 quick cement spots, it's not a big deal. I usually would recommend taking a piece of cardboard and sliding it under where you're doing your connections, so that way if you do drip glue, you don't drip it on your hydro height unit. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're never going to glue the outside of the actual green ring. Your connector, you're going to actually glue inside the elbow. Okay, so you're going to take your glue and you're going to press it along the surfaces on the inside like so. Okay, get it nice and coated, and then you're going to take your green connector and you're going to slide it right in as far as it'll go. Okay, give it a good push. Now that's what we did for one side. Now for the other side, we're going to take and do the same thing. We're going to put glue on it and push it together, and that's how we're going to connect our full hydroponic system. Now when you're doing this, always make sure you push it in all the way. You only have about 10 to 30 seconds after you put that glue on to get this in here. You cannot wait a minute or two. It's not Elmer's glue. As soon as you put that glue on here, slide this in as fast as you can, give it a good push, and now it's chemically welded. Even after a couple seconds, you'll never get this out, okay? It's chemically welded inside. Now the reason I had you put the glue on the inside of this and not on the tube is because if you put it on the tube, it tends to spill and you don't get good coverage. If you put it on the inside of the tube, you can see actually on the inside here, the glue has, the PVC glue has actually filled the inside of the cracks on the whole inside of this tube. So that's all you need to do is basically take and do 7 quick connections to put your hydroponic system together. If you have any questions, feel free to contact tech support or give us a call. Alright, now we're going to talk about the assembly of your hydro system. We've assembled one here briefly, but what you're going to be looking for is each section is going to come into pieces. We're not actually going to connect them at these ends. We're going to need you to connect them with PVC glue. So you'll be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 connections. We have these elbows on them, and we have everything else all set. All you need to do is put these 2 pieces together, and again, try to put it on a level surface. But since we did both of the 90-degree angles coming off each end, it should be just a simple matter of gluing in that center insert. Now, if you what we actually did on each of these is we marked them 1, 1, then we come over 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. So that way you just line up the numbers, of course, and just glue them together and you'll be all set. Now, of course, we can't ship it together because otherwise it would be too large to fit on a pallet. So we're going to send you a small